Hello everyone, all students grade 12. I hope this video find all students well. Well, welcome to today's video where we are going to be considering the structure of cell and also inheritance. First of all, found more basic structures that you must understand all this to start with me inheritance. So we begin this. I want to talk today about inheritance, and I start with you from inside the cell structure that found inside nucleus, the first point, the first structure called nucleus. Inside the nucleus, chromosomes. Inside chromosomes, more genes, and inside gene, alleles. All these points, all these structures, you can say about these points basic structure inside the cell. So I give you the function, the role for each one. Nucleus, that means basic structures that control all activities that happen inside the cell. Inside nucleus, chromosomes, the strands. You can say another way, another meaning for threads like DNA molecules that have more genes. Genes that you can say small part length from DNA molecules that codes to produce kinds of proteins. And genes have more forms. Forms, you can say alternative forms that produce alleles. So found another kinds from the cells. Number one, number two. Two cells that produce from cell division called haploid and diploid. Each one have one characteristic, have one feature. Haploid with one set of chromosomes, 23 chromosomes, and another diploid have two sets of chromosomes, chromosomes such as 46 chromosomes. Example, inside the human body, sperm, and inside the human body, example, zygote. You must distinguish between two kinds, two types from cells, haploid and diploid. 23 chromosomes and 46 chromosomes, such as sperm, the simplest part, and also egg inside the human body. And on the other side, found zygote, 46 chromosomes, 2N, 26, 1N, one set of chromosomes. This basic structure that you must understand all this point to start with your inheritance. And also found another part for gene. Have two kinds. One type homozygous and heterozygous. Homozygous, heterozygous, two kinds from genes. This number one, homozygous, I give one example. Large and small letters. Homozygous, A, the identical, and also different, A is small. Large letter and small letter. And the key definition for homozygous, that mean that having identical alleles. For example, A, large, of one particular gene. And heterozygous, that means different alleles. A small, that found, can say, in form G. Start to understand another point for genotype and phenotype. Nucleus, to consequences for this informations. Nucleus inside the cell, chromosomes, gene, alleles, and also two types from cells, haploid, diploid, and with one set of chromosomes and two sets of chromosomes, 23 chromosomes, sperm, and 46. It is summary for this point. Gene inside the chromosomes, the same, this figure to understand this point. This figure, chromosomes, two chromosomes have one centromere that from two chromatids found centromere that join, that combine with two chromatids. This strands of chromosomes that have more genes inside. The same this part. Chromosomes, strands have more genes, and inform alleles. So I give you another part for genotype and phenotype. Genotype and also phenotype is also another definition, key definition. Genotype, gene, can say genetic information, this number one, and also phenotype, features. Features, we can say another way, another meaning for characteristics. Short, tall, black, white, all these features, phenotype and genotype. And later I explain this point for you. Start to move another part for inheritance and monohybrid. Monohybrid is very important point, and you must understand this point for monohybrid. Monohybrid, that mean one characteristic and that's studied by the genetic diagram. But I give you a small history about inheritance and monohybrid for the mechanism of inheritance that was discovered by one person who had been made and discover all these points, discover all this characteristic by kind of the plant called bee plant that start to study all these points in his garden. This scientist called Mendel that start study one kind from the plant, and this person who made the very important discoveries about inheritance. Mendel that start study and was studied this points with another kind from the plants, pea plant, and start from one kind, tall, pure, example, pure breeding, tall, and another short. The same, pure breeding short, you can say the same characteristic dwarf. So listen to me to understand the results. Pure breeding tall, pure breeding dwarf, fertilization between them produce this parent and gametes and produce one first generation, F1, first filling generation, that all seeds that produce from the plant that harvest plants, and all this is tall. This the first generation, but the second generation for after flowering plants, after flowering, and make self reproduction. After self reproduction and flowering, this plant produce two kinds from the plant, 3 to 1, 3 tall and 1 dwarf for this point. So this example for monohybrid, and I give you example, I give you information and explain all these points